Hello, and welcome to Lifestyle Medicine, episode 3. Thank you for joining us. And here is my gorgeous friend, Julianne Miller.
Hello.
Now, I have known Julianne for, it's going to be 25 years.
It's got to be.
It's even a bit more, actually. It might even be 30. But we met when I used to live in London. And Julianne has been into complementary therapies and holistic medicine for as long as I've known you. And always aspiring to look after yourself naturally. So Julianne is a learning specialist for neurodivergent young people, in which she is awesome. So really elevating and celebrating children who are at school, who perhaps the system doesn't work for, and then doing at home support in a way that has children totally get education and excel and do really well and feel empowered within the learning system.
Thank you.
Is that right? Is that right?
On a good day.
Well, absolutely, really great. So what we're going to talk about with lifestyle medicine, because actually when I met Julianne, you were already reading tarot. In fact, you read tarot for me all those years ago, and also an incredible I Ching reader as well. And so many aspects of your teachings and your wisdom have inspired my life and have changed my life and have really directed my life in ways still to this very day. If I need to sound something out, Julianne is absolutely who I would go to on the phone or on the blower to give me that insight, because her insight and wisdom is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
You're so welcome. So I'm going to really hand over to Julianne now to start. We're going to just, having a look at what lifestyle medicine is for you and how lifestyle medicine and your integration of what serves you really well to keep you well and to keep you aligned, focused. And we were saying this morning when we were chatting about it, your practices that bring your system into your system and your barriers into wellness. So I'm going to hand over to you. We've got notes here in case we need any prompts, but we've got 3 areas we're going to discuss, and we decided that meditation, divination and prayer were what we were going to talk about. So shall we begin?
Oh, let's.
Julianne, over to you. Let's talk about your lifestyle medicine practices.
So Anna asked me this morning, what does lifestyle medicine mean to you? And I'm not an acupuncturist, and I'm not a nutritionist, and I think it's very easy to imagine that medicine is something that tampers with the system in some way. I take it, I apply it. But I don't see it like that. I have my own take on that. And for me, even breaking up lifestyle, I think the question is, what style of life would you like to enjoy?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And what will help you to address any barriers to wellness of body, mind, and spirit? So often lifestyle medicine can be, the body, healing this, sleeplessness or menstrual cramps or hair loss or something like that. Or it can be helping to soothe me on life's ups and downs. But at the core of all change and healing is some sort of interaction with a power that enables us to grow into the style of life that will not only bring us joy, but allow us to walk in the world with integrity, dignity, and offering the gift. That's our life purpose. That's who we are. And I think, as a teacher, but as a friend, as a mother, as a practitioner on the spiritual path, most of the people that I know and love are asking questions about what is how do I live? And so when I think about lifestyle medicine, I think about the application of, the imbibing of, or the interaction with a healing force. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I've really, long before I was a teacher, I was always really, really interested in making sense of the world around me and making sense of how things happen, why they happen, and what could I do to work in tandem with that. Because there's this old adage, which I absolutely love, which is that every blade of grass has a spirit whispering over it saying, grow, grow. Yeah, I heard someone once say to me, "Oh yeah, God carries a picture of me in its wallet." I was like, wow, wow. Imagine the intimacy of that kind of a relationship and what you could do with it.
Wow, that's so cool.
Somebody else once told me, there's a bespoke curriculum laid out just for me, and all I have to understand is what chapter I'm on and what the homework is.
I love that too.
So
meditation. Let's talk about
So
meditation.
I've got 3 practices, and I might actually start with divination if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
My very, very first practice of all of the lifestyle medicine practices was divination.
Okay.
I was in a very dark period of my life, and I was about 15 or 16 years old, and not very much made sense, and I was acting in ways that did not serve me. And a woman, a stranger, an agent of the Almighty, handed me this book and said, "You might like this." And it's this 2,500-year-old book of Taoist wisdom called the I Ching. It's made up of 64 hexagrams. You ask a question, you throw coins, and you receive a verbal picture of what this moment in time looks like and what it appears what steps you are taking and where they're going to lead you. And I found that if I asked questions and clarified my intention, I received information from a source that appeared really willing to help and guide me. Mm-hmm. And then I started, I think the next thing that I started doing was really honing in on my questions. Mm. What do I really want to know right now? I mean, a lot of the times it's show me a picture of what this moment is and what actions can I take right now that will move me further along the goal of joy or peace. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's guide me along the path towards equilibrium, so I don't have to deal with the ups and downs of my mind's creation. So in that practice, what I learned to do was clarify my intention, clarify my question. What do you really want to know? What do you really want to do? And I found that over time, I was getting pretty specific with the dialogue I wanted to have with this unseen source that I'm assuming wants to come and help me. Mm-hmm. What's it like for you when you have a reading?
With you? Or with you?
Well, you can start with full stop and then you can tell me anything about.
Well, when I have a reading, I'm very open to hearing. I always trust and know that whatever I've selected is absolutely right for me in that moment. Sometimes I don't have the questions other than show me what I need to know right now, unless I'm asking a specific question, and then I'll ask a specific question. But when I have a reading, I'm open to hearing, and usually I'm enjoying the direction and the interpretation and the wisdom that comes with. And invariably, your readings are always absolutely spot on for showing and highlighting and illuminating aspects of my pathway that perhaps are a little bit either hidden or unseen, or they're confirming what I either know or wish to hear, without it being, I'm gonna live my whole life on this reading. But invariably, I take the pointers and the wisdom and the showing, like for example the reading that you did for me about tending to the small. I really adored that. That really lives with me. And actually, funnily enough, my I think it's my purpose gene key is number 9, gene key number 9, which is tending to the small, which is my purpose in life. Which when you read for me that time, and then I saw the gene key, it's like, so, and you explained tending to the small so eloquently and perfectly, and I'd never really considered that in my life before. So a highlight of a way of looking at my life, tending to the small and staying present in the moment and cultivating just step by step, and just really looking at what's in front of me rather than, massively in front or way back. And I'd never really thought about that or seen that before. So, I really enjoyed that aspect. And then when you did a reading at your birthday, it was about like really shedding the past and coming forward with the future, and really bringing in and this sort of aspect of myself who I've been for a very long time. And so that's really gives me such courage to move forward. And that's what I really like about readings, is it gives me insight, courage, pointers. And it's not just like it they're not just generic, they're so powerful. And if a reader is a really good storyteller, which you are, such a good storyteller and such a good interpreter of the I Ching or the tarot, then it can be very profoundly, like I said, moving forward in your life, and redeveloping in your life that next pursuit. And I really love that. That's what I really love.
Do you know what just is coming off of you that that makes me so happy is how when you have a reading, you have this, you experience a deep sense of love and being cared for.
Yes.
That the information that's being brought forward is loving, in your best interest. It's like that angel whispering over you going, grow.
Yes, indeed.
And the thing that's so encouraging is that love. That whatever spirit it is would come down through these cards to bring you, Anna Swerdlow, a personal message to your benefit, so that you can continue to be happy and walk in this world full of your dharma.
Yes.
That experience of thinking or being in contact with a force of love, which is greater than kind of the day-to-day love or not love or ambivalence or any of the other things in the human experience, is an extraordinary thing. And my whole practice has been based on the fact that, or not the fact, my experience, that there is something that wants nothing more than to work with me.
Yes. So do you do cards, your little cards every day? And is it okay to do cards every day? And is it okay to ask every day? Because lots of people use oracle cards and angel cards, and they have their cards. And is that a good thing to use, is to be using cards and readings really regularly?
When I am anxious and upset, I sometimes do a reading, look at it, do another reading, look at it, because I'm not actually taking anything in. I'm just I'm just kind of, it's not compulsively, but it's like I have so much anxiety and I'm so worried about something and my heart hurts so much. And at no point have the cards ever said, stop it, that's wrong. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're there to hold my hand, even though the information is confusing to me and I don't always understand it. There's a real difference between that and when I still my mind and I ask a question and I'm able to receive the response. So I do an annual reading.
Right.
My annual reading this year is a difficult one. And when I got it, I was like, okay. But it's turned out to be very comforting. The reading, which is Hexagram 54, the Marrying Maiden, talks about the second wife being led to a wedding in which she's not important at all. She's just coming as part of the household.
Okay.
And there's a first wife who gets all the ceremony, and you're just brought along. And the whole hexagram is about you're not that important here.
Okay.
And that can be a really hard thing to hear. It's like,
Yes.
but I'm so important to me, and it's like, so in the beginning, I start processing, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a year where I'm not very important. And then as time has gone on, what I've seen is that people are making decisions that are affecting me, that appear to be affecting me negatively. And I could be like, you're hurting me, you're trying to whatever. But instead, I'm holding this reading, so I know that nobody's thinking about my well-being as their first choice. And so the one who has to think about well-being is me.
Right.
And that's been a real growing thing for me. And this particular hexagram goes back into return, which is a homecoming. And so even though it looks at every turn with my graduate school that my supervisor doesn't really have any time for me, in a long-term employment contract, they're making decisions that are not necessarily in my best interest.
Yes.
I'm going through a funny moment in work where I'm having a large shift in clientele. It would be very easy for me to look and be like, oh, woe is me. But in actual fact, all of these lead to return. So somehow these processes where everything's happening, even though everything's happening because people are making choices about what's good for them, I'm still coming home. And as I'm past the halfway mark of the year now, I'm starting to see how all of these decisions that in the beginning I was like, man, they're not about me, are bringing me back to a new beginning. So there's that, a year reading where I can hold it. I daily pick angel cards.
Yes.
And I put them on. I have a bone monkey on my counter of Hanuman, who's the service god.
It's beautiful.
And the children who come in also pick one.
Oh,
so
lovely.
I keep it there for that as well.
So lovely.
So I think the thing is, because divination was my first practice, it taught me that there is a universal force that wants to work with me, that it's not just a one-way relationship. I have to take responsibility for what I'm asking for and for receiving the information that I'm getting.
Yes, excellent.
Which leads me to my other two practices.
Yeah, I love that. I can almost feel that coming in.
Can you?
Yeah, I can feel it zooming in because it does. It leads to, I don't know which one you want to select, but yeah, absolutely prayer.
Prayer.
Yeah, let's talk about that so that it's okay because that's quite sensitive. So yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to prayer and how that ties in, and because they're very much altogether meditation and prayer. So let's talk about prayer. And what you'd like to share about that?
I'm not a religious woman. I didn't have a religious upbringing. I didn't have to pray to anybody or thing. I wasn't coerced. I didn't have to go as a kid. But because I have the experience of there being a loving, beneficial force who whispers over me, grow, grow. I started thinking, well, okay, so if divination is this moment of asking, right? It's a moment of asking and receiving, and then I hold the information and I do the work over the period of time where I'm processing the reading. Are there other ways that I can work with the universe to manifest that in my daily life? So I think the first time it was suggested to me that I could direct the conversation with the God of my understanding. They said, have you ever, prayed for anything what would you pray for? If you could have one wish, what would it be? And at the time that the person asked me that, it was, I want to feel loved. I had little kids. I loved them with all my heart. But I felt like my childhood had led me to experiences that made me less able to feel love than to give it. I felt all this love to my kids, and I could feel that they loved me, but it didn't soak me to the bone the way I knew loving soaked me to the bone. So I thought, right, I'm going to pray. I'm going to write a prayer. I'm going to say it twice a day for a long time, and I'm going to see what happens. So my prayer was, and I said it in the morning and the evening, help me to deeply feel loved. Okay? And what I found through this process is that the universal forces of growth and healing love to play with you. And so they were like, yay, game on. The first things that happened is that every place I was unable to receive love was highlighted to me.
Okay.
So it was like when I was a little girl, you go to the dentist and they give you this red tablet to chew. You brushed your teeth. Did you have that?
Yes, it shows you where
And
the
it
plaque
shows you
is.
where the plaque is.
That's great.
This is what the prayer was like. It showed me
Right.
all the places the plaque was on my heart.
Right. Wow, okay.
So it started off a little bit painful. Not painful, but like, ouch. Huh. I didn't know that I was closed there. I didn't see that this behavior was a closing down of some way. You know, at that time, I think the first one was, at that time, I was still smoking. And I would have my little kids around, and then I would be like, oh, just going to pop out for a second. And I didn't realize that that time out that I was taking was an intimacy break. Because I couldn't manage the intensity of my experience. But smoking was hurting me. So it was like, well, could you take that time out without the cigarette? Can you just be like, hey, back in a minute? And that shift right there to it's absolutely fine for you to take a moment's break was part of a whole set of thinking, you know, that just sort of was like a cascade of, well, is it not okay that you need to take a break? I mean, you know, it's very full on mothering, and they need to take a break from you when they have a nap. I mean, you know, how can we turn that into something that works? And the relationships in my life where I was offering a lot of love gave me an opportunity to see, can you feel that you're receiving it? Or do you expect to receive it because you're giving? And what is that like for you? So it brought up a huge series of questions. And I want you to know that I stayed with this prayer for about 2 years.
Right.
I was in it for the long haul. And by the end of it, I could feel deep, deep in my bones what love was like.
Wonderful.
And then I was like, okay, well, if that worked, how much more ambitious can I get with these prayers? So my next one was, I want to feel safe at all times and in all places. And people were like, ooh, that's a lot. Do you know what I mean? Because what if this place is unsafe, right? I mean, if you're somewhere, you don't want to feel safe somewhere that's unsafe. But it wasn't like that at all. It was, if I feel safe in my heart and in my relationship with the God of my understanding, then I will take myself away from a situation that's unsafe. And I stayed with that for about 18 months. So that led me to understand something I knew from doing readings, which is that you can have a really creative experience with this force. You know, sometimes I read tarot cards and we move all the cards around the table and look at how the different cards would talk to each other. And if you were a queen, which queen would you be? And who's the queen that you don't want to be? And that there's this imaginative play that's all part of coming to understand the tools that you're working with. Just like you think about the properties of the stones that you do with your gua sha. And then, you know, again, this is part of, we talked this morning about friendship and the importance of people on the spiritual path with you,
Yes.
who uplift you and
Yes.
allow you to participate in conversations just like this.
Yes.
Someone said to me, I was talking about a problem I was having with someone, and they said, "Oh, do you have a God box?" And I was like, oh, "No, what's a God box?" And they said, "Oh, it's a box. And you write down a problem that you're having, and you put it in your God box, and you just leave it there. It's like an alchemical place where God does the work for you on something that you absolutely cannot shift. And then you go back to it in 6 months and you see if it's still there." And I've been doing this for about 15 years. I don't have to do it as I used to. Sometimes if I couldn't fall asleep at night and it was like, and I had a pen and paper next to my bed, put it in my God box. Don't touch it. And my experience was that after looking at stuff after 6 months, 90% of it was gone.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I
Can you
know.
wish for things? Does it have to be a problem? It's always...
Well, I've never done that. And I haven't done that because my experience has been what I think I want isn't always what brings me joy.
Right.
What I really want to know is, what does the universe want for me if I get out of my own way?
Yes. Wow.
Right? Because if you'd asked me when I was younger what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you Oprah.
Yes.
I want to have a national TV show and talk about spirituality and, in different dresses every day. And in actual fact, I'm a special needs teacher. And it earns me my income. It gives me the opportunity to be of service. I'm in integrity and dignity. And it's my dharma. That wasn't my choice.
Yes.
So sometimes, oh gosh, and sometimes I've wished for boyfriends. And again, it's like that thing where I said, show me what it feels like to be deeply loved. It's like you ask for a boyfriend and you are shown every single
Boyfriend.
obstacle to your actually having one. So, no,
Yes.
I tend
That's
to...
really interesting though. Like, show me a boyfriend or show me... But to get out of your own way, to really get to show me that I'm loved is very different from I want a boyfriend, isn't it?
Well, what's more useful to say, I want get me a boyfriend, or help me to release the obstacles to my being with the person who I deserve to be with?
Yes, indeed.
Which would be a very different curriculum, would it not?
Wow. That's a whole other subject, isn't it? How to formulate questions in prayer and in your cards and in your meditations, and to how to formulate those questions to make sure that we are asking the right questions. Are you able to speak to that?
Yes.
Because you're great at that.
That's a bit, I'm it's been 45 years since I picked up my first form of divination. So I have lots and lots of experience. But, recently, because of the work that I do, I'm with kids for a really long period of time. So sometimes I'll get them in year 3 and I won't graduate them till A level. And I started my private practice 10 years ago, and somehow a natural cycle has ended this year. So I've had kids for 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, and I've never had a really large cohort graduate all at once. Now, naturally, as a human living on Earth, financial fear is one of the things that will come up for me first. Oh my God, I have to go get more people, So when I start entering into the dialogue, I'm thinking, okay, what do I really want to ask? Am I going to be okay? Okay, well, the cards aren't going to tell me that, because the answer is yes. So that doesn't work. And then it's like, okay, well, what is the actual question that I want to ask? And I will spend 2 weeks writing something down and then sitting with it.
Okay.
And I think, I have it written over there, I finally got to the question that I wanted to ask after 2 weeks. Because if you ask something fractious, you're going to receive a fractious response. It gives you back the energy to some extent. And if I'm saying, what's it going to be like, and I come in like this, then the answer is, well, if you're coming in like this, it's going to be like this.
Right.
So I think I asked, show me a picture of the process of returning to a full practice. And I received, the hexagram I received was, oh, you will influence this as it influences you. It will be a joint, it'll be an inflow and an outflow because your circumstances have changed. And it's true, I have a different partner, I'm in a different situation.
Yeah.
So you're going to be making different choices, and what you choose will then influence how you make that choice. And I felt good that I was in the flow.
Yes.
And then the second one that it went into was dissolving, which is, you know, the boundaries have completely dissolved from that first practice. So I understood it, and now I don't have to ask about it again. I can just sit with it
Right.
and let it happen.
I love that. I love that. So, should we talk about meditation? Is there anything else that we want to talk about with prayer?
In terms of asking questions, I would just say,
Yes, and also maybe, you know, when you're praying, is there a question or do you have the same, I know that you said show me, so, you know, with praying, does that change and evolve and develop, or you're staying with the same prayer for a period of time until you feel, the same as the question, do these change or do you...
definitely.
You say they change all the time.
Well, I think my experience has been that this loving power will create a curriculum for me based on what I ask about. It's like, oh, I want to work on my experience of being loved. And so I will receive all of the experiences and information that I need in order to, all the medicine
Yeah,
that I need. And my job is to listen,
right.
which brings us to meditation.
Yes. Can I just ask one question about prayer?
Oh, yeah,
In
please
that,
do.
this will hopefully move into meditation. So when you do your prayer, do you sit in prayer, or how do you do your prayer? Is it just a written,
Nope.
or are you sitting in prayer?
Well, the
or is-
first prayer, I mean, I'm working with one right now I've had for about 5 years, which is quite a long one. Help me to, oh God, I don't remember it. Help me to craft my experience and my willing to serve into a vehicle for your love. Help me to uplift, may it uplift those with whom it comes in contact. May it expand to its full potential. May it be the correct scale for my abilities and capabilities, and may your grace guide me throughout.
Wow.
Took me a long time to get to that, but yeah, that's really what I
awesome.
am looking for. Help me to craft this thing. And I believe that is
Yeah.
an operating system in my relationship with my higher power that is a constant. It's like my grad school course or whatever, and then I have these daily ones. I pray in the morning when I wake up and right before I go to bed. Sometimes if I can't fall asleep, I'll just say the prayer over and over, you know, and feel how it feels in my bones. And you know, our relationship with universal forces is the same as a relationship with a person. You turn up, you talk about what your needs are, you assume that those needs are good and valid and wholesome because they came from you, and you bring them to the table. And because the universe loves you, it will show up with its side of it. Can you pay attention to that? Can you interpret it? Do you know what it means? Friends help. This is what's happening for me. You know me. You see my whole life. How do you think this fits in? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see your life shifting and changing and evolving and developing, and it's just miracles. Love a miracle.
Love a
Absolutely
miracle.
love a miracle. And I think, when we're open to receiving and listening rather than that sort of waiting and
Challenge. There's a tarot card which has all these guys like this, and it's just like, are you gonna bring it to me? Are you gonna bring it to me? And yet I'm like this. That's why I love the cards. It's like,
yeah.
or there's this one card where a woman is sitting in a circle of swords, and she's bound and has
Yes,
a
a
and
blindfold
she's
on.
just like this. But actually, there's nobody holding her there, and she could get up and walk out of it at any time.
Take the blindfold off.
Or there's another one who has like all these swords behind her, and she's in bed like this, but all the colors of the curtains and everything are like rich purple and pink, and it's like, oh, so you're enjoying this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. It's so cool. So let's talk about meditation.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Since you are lifestyle medicine in your heart,
Yes.
is it your experience that when you are treating, that your ultimate goal is to enable there to be a freedom so that you can be present to the moment?
For them to be present
Yeah,
to the moment.
for them to be present to the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for me, first of all, in a consultation, my listening looks to where energy is blocked, or where there is, just that, where energy in their whole lifestyle is blocked. And I'm looking to see what is required to create fresh air, let's call it, in a stagnation. So when they're stagnated, it feels like they're in a stagnant room or a stagnant area of the flow of their life, be it in nature. So that, when I think about a person and how they are, I think about all that is in nature and how they correspond to that. And I'm looking at where there's blockage and where there's stagnation, distortion, and bringing them back into themselves so that they can feel that freedom to go forward in their life, just to be in their fullest potential in this moment. Yeah. And to tackle and to feel themselves so that they can get on in their life, no matter what that is, be it a physical, emotional, spiritual condition. That my listening is that if we maybe look at this first, because it may be like a complex pattern, so there's different aspects of the stagnation. It's like what would best be of service to this person to unblock and to resolve, to begin to bring them back into themselves, so that other areas will automatically have an opening. And so absolutely, my point selection and maybe other modalities and what I bring in is that it really embodies everything with energetic medicine, but I also give lifestyle medicine recommendations like food choices, a bit of exercise, sleep, emotional recommendations. It might be a bit of hypnosis. It could be aurosoma essences, essential oils, crystals. It could be anything that I think that could be as an assistant to them after my treatment, so that it's not that they're coming to me to have treatment so that it's being
fixed.
Done to.
Yeah.
It is, it's a collaboration and an entanglement with themselves and the energy to take them forward, so that they can make their own adjustments to help themselves, so that they're not being done to or shazammed or just needled. That there's a responsibility of that person to then go away to continue that flow. And I always describe, you can't just do, have a matcha, have a matcha latte, do 20 sit-ups, and chant for 10 minutes. That this is what lifestyle medicine's all about. It's a lifestyle. It happens that it's a practice that you commit to on a daily basis, or at least as daily, or I mean, for me it has to be daily. And it's to a certain degree. Some days it's really strong, and some days it's just making sure and being mindful that I'm drinking and hydrating, and that I'm sleeping well, and using natural products. Whereas one day it might be that I do 90 minutes Kundalini yoga and mantra and chanting. I have acupuncture, and my skincare is every day as well. So, and my skincare is not just about putting on my products, it's from the inside out as well. So that's really what I like to show people, is definitely in that moment, is to bring people home to themselves, to make them aware of themselves, and to go, oh, do you know what, I get that, I get it, and I love that, is so that people get it for themselves. And also in my teaching, when I teach, I want people to get it for themselves. So it's not like I'm teaching you and you do the same thing to your students. Is that not I'm teaching, but I'm teaching you to get it for yourself, so that it's like, oh, great, I can see where